Zuberi Kulum woke up before sunrise in his penthouse, staring at the city that had made him powerful. Screens already showed news about his wedding. Reporters waited outside. Investors sent congratulations. To the world, this day was perfect. He was young, rich, admired, and about to marry a beautiful woman everyone envied. Cars, flowers, cameras, and guests were all prepared with careful control, just like his business empire. Far from the bright lights, a young woman named Mirela Sunda stood near the grand building holding a small cooler of water bottles. She had no invitation, no special clothes, and no protection from the sun. She came early because crowds meant sales. She stayed quiet, watching expensive shoes pass her by, used to being unseen. This day was only about survival for her. Inside the building, Anati Kirosa sat alone in a small room meant for last-minute touch-ups. Her dress was heavy. Her hands would not stop shaking. Her breath came in short bursts. The smiles she showed outside vanished the moment the door closed. She felt fear, not joy. People knocked, telling her to hurry, but no one truly listened. When the staff walked away, Mirela entered to deliver water, not knowing whose tears she was about to witness. She froze when she saw the bride crying like a lost child. Without thinking about rules or status, she spoke gently and stayed. No one had ever stayed for Anati like that. Between broken breaths, Anati shared her truth. She spoke of control, silence, and losing herself inside luxury. She felt owned, not loved. Mirela listened, then shared her own life of hunger, loss, and choice. She spoke about self-worth, about walking away even when the road is painful. Behind the door, Zuberi arrived earlier than planned. He heard every word. Each sentence struck him harder than any business failure. For the first time, he saw his power from the outside. Moments later, the ceremony stopped. Gasps filled the room. Zuberi spoke honestly, not as a billionaire, but as a man learning too late. He changed everything in front of everyone. That day, Anati stepped forward freely. Mirela's kindness opened doors she never imagined. And Zuberi learned that love cannot be bought, only chosen. Outside the venue, a poor water seller named Mirela Sunda works quietly to survive the day. She stands near the gate with a small bucket, hoping tired guests will notice her. Luxury cars arrive one after another. Music floats in the air, and cameras flash, yet no one looks at her twice. She is used to being ignored, so she keeps her eyes low and focuses on selling enough to eat that night. Inside the grand building, the mood suddenly shifts. The bride, Anati Kirosa, feels her chest tighten as the moment gets closer. The noise, the pressure, the expectations all crash down at once. She slips away into a small room, locks the door, and finally lets her tears fall. Her heart is heavy, not excited. She feels trapped in a future she did not fully choose. People knock and call her name, but they speak with urgency, not care. When no one listens, Mirela enters to drop off water, unaware of who stands before her. She sees a woman in pain, not wealth or status. Without fear, she speaks softly and offers comfort. Her presence is calm, real, and honest. Anati opens up to this stranger. She shares how power has shaped her life, how decisions were made around her, not with her. She feels invisible despite everything she owns. Mirela listens closely, then shares her own struggles, her losses, and her strength. She speaks about dignity, about having the right to choose even when the world says no. Unknown to them, Zuberi Kulum arrives earlier than planned. He pauses when he hears voices behind the door. Every word reaches him clearly. He hears the fear, the truth, and the pain he never noticed. For the first time, he questions the life he built and the role he played. When the ceremony is about to begin, everything stops. Guests whisper in confusion. Zuberi steps forward and speaks openly. There is no anger in his voice, only reflection. He thanks the young seller who spoke from the heart and admits his mistakes in front of everyone. That moment changes everything. Anati breathes freely again. Mirela's life turns in a new direction. And Zuberi learns that real power begins with listening. Minutes before the ceremony, bride Anati Kirosa locks herself in a side room, shaking and crying. Her breath feels broken as if the air refuses to stay inside her chest. Silk presses against her skin, heavy like a promise she no longer understands. The noise outside grows louder, laughter mixing with music, but none of it reaches her heart. Tears fall without control. carrying fear she hid for months behind practiced smiles. Her hands tremble as memories rush in. Every step that led here feels chosen by others. Advice became orders. Care turned into control. Wealth covered everything. Yet something important was missing. She feels small, trapped inside beauty that suddenly feels like a cage. The mirror shows a face she barely recognizes. Voices appear beyond the door. People knock, asking her to hurry. Their words are sharp, rushed, empty of warmth. No one asks if she is okay. No one waits. When the sound fades, silence returns, pressing harder than the noise ever did. The door opens softly. A young woman steps inside holding water. Her clothes are simple, her eyes kind. She does not rush. She does not judge. She notices fear and responds with calm. A gentle voice asks nothing important, yet means everything. The truth spills out between gasps. Feelings long buried finally escape. She speaks about losing herself, about smiling for cameras, about living a life that looks perfect but feels wrong. She admits she is scared to step forward. The stranger listens carefully, then shares her own story. She speaks about hunger, rejection, and standing alone. She explains that dignity cannot be bought, and choice is worth any cost. Her words are slow, honest, and real. Nearby, a man arrives sooner than planned. He hears voices through the closed space. Each sentence cuts deep. He realizes he built success but ignored hearts. Pride begins to fade, replaced by clarity. Moments later, everything changes. Movement stops. Eyes widen. Silence spreads. Decision is made that surprises everyone watching. Freedom replaces fear. Kindness opens doors. And a lesson is learned that echoes louder than applause. Love begins when someone is truly seen. When staff ignore the bride's panic, Mirela enters, not knowing who the bride really is. She steps inside only to place water on a small table, but her feet stop when she hears quiet sobs. A woman in a white dress sits on the floor, arms wrapped around herself, breath uneven. Mirela forgets where she is. She does not see luxury or importance. She sees fear. People outside spoke loudly but never listened. They rushed past, focused on schedules and perfection. Mirela, used to being unseen, notices everything. She closes the door gently and speaks with care. Her voice is soft, steady, and patient. She does not ask names. She does not ask reasons. She simply stays. The bride looks up, surprised that someone did not scold or hurry her. Tears fall again, faster now. Words spill out without planning. She speaks about pressure, expectations, and a life shaped by others. She admits she feels lost inside something everyone else celebrates. Mirela listens closely. She has known fear too. Hunger. Loneliness. Standing alone while the world walks by. She shares her own pain, not to compare, but to connect. She speaks about choice, about walking away from paths that hurt the soul. Her words are simple, but they land deep. For the first time that day, the bride feels heard. Her breathing slows. Her shoulders relax slightly. She realizes she is not weak for feeling this way. Someone finally sees her as a human, not a symbol. Outside the room, footsteps pause. A man arrives earlier than planned. He hears voices through the door. Every sentence reaches him clearly. The truth hits harder than any headline or deal. He stands still listening, realizing how blind he has been. Time moves forward, but nothing feels the same. Moments later, silence spreads across the grand hall. Faces turn. Whispers rise. A decision is made that shocks everyone present. What began as a small act of kindness shifts the direction of many lives. Fear loosens its grip. Courage finds a voice. And one quiet helper proves that sometimes the person with nothing holds the power to change everything. Anathy confesses she feels trapped, controlled, and unseen despite marrying a powerful man. Her voice shakes as she speaks, each word heavy with truth she has held inside for too long. She explains how her life slowly stopped being her own. Decisions were made around her, wrapped in comfort and money, yet never asking what she truly wanted. From the outside, everything looked perfect, but inside, she felt like she was fading. She talks about smiling for cameras while feeling empty, about nodding in meetings she never asked to attend, about wearing beauty like armor to hide fear. She says that love began to feel like duty, and kindness turned into supervision. The more powerful her future became, the smaller she felt. Tears fall as she admits she no longer recognizes herself. Her dreams were replaced by expectations. Her voice was replaced by silence. She feels watched, guided, and corrected, but never understood. She is afraid that once the vows are spoken, there will be no way back. Mirela listens without interrupting. She sits close, offering presence instead of advice. When she finally speaks, her words are simple but strong. She shares how poverty can also trap a person, yet choice remains the one thing no one can steal. She says dignity does not come from wealth, and freedom does not ask for permission. Anathy absorbs every word. Her chest feels lighter, as if someone opened a window inside her. For the first time, she believes her feelings are valid. She realizes fear is not weakness, and leaving does not mean failure. Nearby, a man hears everything. He stands still, unseen, listening to truths he never allowed himself to face. Each sentence breaks the image he built of control and success. He understands that love without listening becomes a cage. The moment approaches. Silence spreads. A decision forms that will change everything. What was meant to be a celebration becomes a turning point. One honest confession exposes the cost of power, and a quiet conversation proves that being seen matters more than being owned. Mirela speaks from her own pain, about dignity, choice, and courage no money can buy. Her voice is calm, not loud, yet every word feels strong. She does not pretend to know everything. She speaks honestly, from a life shaped by loss and survival. She explains how standing on the street every day taught her self-respect, even when people looked through her like air. She learned that value is not given by others. She shares moments of hunger and cold nights, of walking long roads with tired feet and hope held tightly. She explains how fear once ruled her, how silence almost broke her spirit. Still, she chose to keep going. She chose to protect her heart, even when the world offered nothing in return. She tells Anathy that control can wear a soft smile. It can hide behind protection and gifts. It can sound like care while slowly taking away freedom. She explains that real strength begins when someone listens to their own feelings, even when that truth is painful. Her words are simple, yet they land deep. She says leaving comfort can be frightening, but losing oneself is worse. She explains that bravery does not shout. Sometimes it whispers, asking a person to step away before it is too late. She reminds her that fear does not mean weakness. It means the heart is still alive. Anathy listens closely, eyes wide, breath slower now. Something shifts inside her. The pressure in her chest eases. For the first time, she feels permission to want more than a beautiful life. She feels allowed to want peace. Mirela continues, saying that nothing is worth a soul. She explains that a future built without consent will eventually collapse. She does not judge. She does not push. She simply offers truth shaped by experience. Nearby, someone hears every sentence. He stands still, realizing how much he misunderstood strength. He sees that power without empathy creates walls instead of safety. The room feels different now. Heavier, yet clearer. A choice approaches that cannot be ignored. What begins as shared pain becomes a doorway. One woman finds her voice. Another realizes her worth. And a quiet lesson proves that the greatest riches are never owned, only lived. Zuberi arrives early, and hears the entire conversation behind the door. He planned to check one last detail before the ceremony, nothing more. As he walks down the quiet hallway, he notices a soft voice coming from a closed room. He slows his steps without knowing why. The words reach him clearly, carrying emotion he cannot ignore. He hears fear. He hears honesty. Each sentence feels unfamiliar, almost uncomfortable. He recognizes the voice he loves, yet the feelings are new to him. His chest tightens as he realizes how much he never noticed. The confidence he carries every day begins to crack. He stays still listening. He hears about pressure hidden behind luxury, about silence disguised as care, about a woman slowly disappearing inside a life designed by others. Every truth lands like weight, forcing him to face himself. Then another voice speaks. Firm. Real. It does not flatter or blame. It talks about self-respect, freedom, and walking away before the soul breaks. These words cut deeper than anger ever could. They come from someone with nothing to gain, which makes them impossible to dismiss. Zuberi feels something shift. Deals and numbers never made him pause like this. He built his world on control, thinking protection meant leadership. Now he understands that power without listening becomes harm. Memories flood back, moments he brushed aside, times he decided instead of asking. He sees how his silence helped create this fear. Regret settles heavy in his chest. He could walk away. He could pretend he heard nothing. But he does not. He stands there, exposed to truth, knowing nothing will be the same again. The hallway feels longer. Time slows. A choice forms, not as strategy, but as responsibility. When he finally moves, his steps are different, slower, honest. The man who planned a perfect image now prepares to face a reality he can no longer avoid. What he heard behind that door changes the direction of many lives. It reminds him that love demands humility, and real strength begins with listening. Before vows are exchanged, Zuberi halts the ceremony in front of shocked guests. Music fades halfway through its final note. The room freezes. Smiles stop midair. Cameras lower slowly as confusion spreads across the hall. No one understands why this moment is suddenly broken. This was meant to be perfect, timed and flawless. Zuberi steps forward, his face serious, not angry. His voice is steady but heavy. He asks for silence, and the crowd obeys. People exchange looks, unsure whether to stand or sit. Some think it is a joke. Others feel something is wrong. He looks toward Anati. She stands still, heart racing, unsure what comes next. Her hands feel cold, but her eyes search his face. For the first time, she does not see confidence or control. She sees reflection. Zuberi speaks honestly. He admits he listened when he should have spoken sooner. He says he heard pain he helped create. Each word surprises the room. This is not a speech prepared by advisors. This is raw and real. Gasps ripple through the guests. Some feel uncomfortable. Others lean forward, fully caught. No one expected truth on a day built on image. Zuberi explains that love cannot begin with fear. He says a future cannot stand on silence. He turns slightly and acknowledges the young woman who offered comfort earlier. He thanks her publicly, shocking everyone even more. He says wisdom does not always wear expensive clothes. Kindness does not need permission. Anathy feels tears rise again, but this time they are different. Relief mixes with disbelief. The weight on her chest begins to lift. She realizes she is being seen, not displayed. Whispers spread. Phones are forgotten. Time feels suspended. A wedding turns into a lesson unfolding live. Zuberi pauses, allowing the truth to settle. He makes a decision that changes the direction of the day. Not out of pride, but out of respect. What was meant to be a performance becomes a turning point. Courage replaces routine. Honesty replaces tradition. And every person watching understands they are witnessing something rare. A powerful man choosing humility over image. Instead of anger, Zuberi publicly thanks Mirela and changes the wedding terms completely. The room expects blame, tension, or command. What they hear instead is gratitude. Zuberi's voice is calm, steady, and clear. He points toward the young woman standing quietly at the side, still holding her small water bucket. Many guests turn, confused, trying to understand why she matters. He explains that she did what no one else did. She listened. She spoke truth without fear. She treated another human with care when status meant nothing. His words surprise everyone, including Mirela, whose hands begin to shake. She never imagined being noticed, let alone praised, in a place like this. Zuberi then turns back to the gathering. He speaks about responsibility, not power. About partnership, not ownership. He admits that love must be chosen freely, not shaped by pressure or expectation. Each sentence feels honest, not rehearsed. Silence fills the hall as he announces that nothing will move forward under force. He makes it clear that Anathy's voice matters more than tradition, more than pride, more than public image. The future must begin with consent, clarity, and respect. Anathy feels tears form again, but this time they come with relief. Her shoulders relax. She feels lighter, as if a weight has finally been lifted from her chest. She realizes she is allowed to pause, to think, to choose. Guests sit frozen, unsure how to react. Some feel inspired. Others feel uncomfortable. Cameras capture everything, but no one interrupts. This moment is bigger than celebration. Zuberi continues. explaining that wealth can build towers, but humility builds trust. He says that a life shared must be built on listening. He changes plans in front of everyone, choosing honesty over appearance. Mirela stands quietly, overwhelmed. Her small act of kindness has shifted a room full of powerful people. She did not plan this. She only followed her heart. The energy changes. What was once stiff becomes real. What was once silent becomes open. This day no longer belongs to perfection. It belongs to truth. A billionaire steps down from control. A bride steps into freedom. And a young woman learns that courage spoken softly can still change everything. The bride walks freely, Mirela's life transforms, and the billionaire learns humility before love. Anathy steps forward without fear for the first time in a long while. Her movement is slow but sure. The heavy feeling that once held her down begins to fade. She is no longer performing for anyone. She is simply herself. Every step feels like air returning to her lungs. People watch in silence as she chooses peace over pressure. There is no shame on her face, only relief. She understands now that freedom is not running away, but standing honestly in one's truth. Her future is unknown, yet it finally feels like it belongs to her. Nearby, Mirela stands frozen, unsure how her simple kindness led here. The crowd that once ignored her now sees her clearly. Opportunities appear where none existed before. She is offered support, education, and a chance to build a life beyond daily survival. Her hands still shake, but hope settles gently inside her. She learns that compassion can open doors wealth cannot, that speaking from the heart carries weight even in powerful rooms. Her courage, once quiet and unseen, now changes her path completely. Zuberi watches everything with new eyes. The applause around him no longer feeds his pride. Instead, he feels grounded. He understands that control is not love, and success means nothing without respect. Listening becomes his new strength. He chooses patience over urgency, growth over image. He allows space for healing instead of rushing forward. For the first time, he measures power by kindness, not command. The grand hall feels different now. Softer. Real. What began as a celebration of status ends as a lesson in humanity. Strangers leave changed. Conversations deepen. Hearts open. No contracts are signed. No promises are forced. Yet something greater is formed. A woman reclaims her voice. Another discovers her worth. And a man learns that love begins only after humility. This ending is not loud. It is honest. And sometimes that is the most powerful ending of all. If this story touched your heart, please like the video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories like this. Your support helps us bring more meaningful stories to you.